This is Jack Allwild with another money episode. Today we have Erica Joan in the house. She's abundantly Erica, stock options and investing. She is at Woman Options Win on Twitter. That's where I discovered her. She's got some great stuff. Go give her a follow. Erica, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Hey, nice to be here.
So Erica, before we get into your options, mindset shift thinking, why don't we start out with what was your relationship with money growing up?
My parents were sort of frugal. Like my mom would never buy Oreo cookies, like unless she had a coupon and they were on sale. My dad kind of worked to support the family, and then my mom stayed home with us. So I think when I was little, we didn't have a lot of extra money. But my parents were very, very good about saving, and they sort of really lodged that idea into our heads that if you saved, you would be just fine. They were, though, as I grew older, sort of opposed to the idea of investments that might be riskier than a CD. So I think that their parents, so my grandfather would have been a product of the Great Depression and saw that whole stock market crash and kind of became the guy who would hoard 12 cans of tuna. And just in case things went terribly wrong. And I think that kind of maybe rubbed off on my dad, the saving mentality, almost extreme saving to a certain degree, which is amazing if you can do it. And then my mom, her father was an alcoholic, and they really did run out of money all the time because my grandfather would spend all the money at the bar, and then they wouldn't really have enough money for groceries. So the combination of the two personalities sort of combined into these super savers. And that did work for them, and they are very wealthy today. I will say that. What I think happened to me, though, is I sort of rebelled against that in a certain way and was hey, there's an abundance of everything everywhere. Why are you guys not spending a little bit of your money to enjoy your life more? Because you're so opulent. So I kind of I guess didn't have this scarcity around me because they did such a good job saving. They provided all of our needs. So I was able to kind of grow out from there and have more of an abundance mindset. So that's kind of how it all happened for me with money.
For people that, a lot of us we're all going through inflation. People are seeing prices go up. Their wages aren't keeping up. A lot of them, their best bet is maybe to load up on toothpaste or tuna fishes, like you said. So yeah. how do we shift out of that scarcity mindset and go to an abundance mindset?
I think it takes a lot of training your brain. One one of the things that I will do is I will sit there and meditate for 10 minutes, just set out time in my day to sit there and meditate and just feel like everything is expanding for me. Imagine what an abundance in my life would look like and feel what it would feel like to already have it. Then when you have these little thoughts that creep in about oh, we're not going to have enough money to make rent, just push it out and just go we always figure it out. I always figure it out. I will be able to figure this out. I will be able to make good choices with my money. Come up with a mantra that's opposes your limiting belief, and just keep repeating that to yourself and feeling how it would feel to move past that. It's really an exercise that you can't ignore. The other thing that I like to do is I create actually a visual board, a mood board or an inspiration board of all of the stuff that I want to do with the money that I have. So I'll have a vacation photo on there that I really want to take, and I'll look at this once a day and spend 2 minutes looking at it. And it's kind of amazing. I might have the same board for a year, and then I have to make a new one because everything on the board happened. I know that sounds hocus pocus, wow, but I promise you it works.
Can you give us some examples of what was on your board?
Well, yeah, I've had some really spooky things happen. Once I put just this these mountains that were by a sea, and the mountains were sort of red and the sea was blue. Somebody sent it to me as a postcard, and I was this is so beautiful. I would love to go somewhere like this. And I put it on my board. A year and a half later, I went on a vacation with my husband to Corsica, and I was standing there on this vista, and I was I swear this is the postcard I have at home. I swear it is. So odd. Got home, came and looked at the postcard. I had it next to my coffee maker in this little cabinet, turned it around, and it was like Corsica, these mountains. And I was like, that is wild. But I've had a number of things happen like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's get into the guts of the conversation. So Erica, how did you discover options, and how did you get the sense that this is the vehicle that I want to use and focus on to propel my wealth building?
A friend came to me, like a business friend, and said, hey, I am selling covered calls and it's amazing. I'm just printing money. Like, I think that you would love it. Like, I think you would love it. You should try it. And I was thinking to myself, okay, this sounds way too good to be true. There's no way that this can be real. And he didn't really have any instructions for me other than go find some YouTube videos about it. I kind of went through YouTube for like a month trying to find videos that explained it well. And I found that to be a really hard thing to do because a lot of people described it on this very mathematical sort of college textbook way, not like they were human beings. They were more like robots explaining it. So it took me a while to unpack that because that's not really the way that I think. But I just kind of got into it. Like, I was like, okay, I'll just find a really conservative stock that doesn't go up or down that much so I don't lose any money. Like, and at that point in time, it was Walgreens. I did a covered call on Walgreens, made $50. I think the investment might have been 5,000, made $50 for like a 1 week call or something like that. And I was like, wow, that really did happen just the way everyone said it was. Like $50 now my brokerage account. And I just kind of kept doing it, gaining confidence with it, added more and more money into my brokerage account. And I was sort of limited at that point in time because I didn't realize that I had to select the best stocks for options trading. So that's kind of how I got started. Yeah.
Interesting. So you mentioned, well, I guess if we could take a step back, can you describe what a covered call is for those?
Yeah, a covered call is that if you own 100 shares of stock, or if you go out and buy them even at that moment in time, you can sell another trader the option to buy your stock from you, your 100 shares, at a price and a date in the future that you choose. And ideally, this would, or most of the time, you're going to want to choose a price that's more than you paid for the stock. And these durations in time can be anywhere from like a couple days out, expiring on a Friday usually, to like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months out in time. And the more time you have chosen, the more valuable that option is. So basically, you're getting paid money for the right to sell somebody else's stock. And either you want it to get sold away or you don't. You have to make decisions there. So that's
so let's say you get into 100 shares, let's say Walgreens, $100. How high would you typically sell the call? Like how far out of the money would you typically go for, like, I guess your typical?
It's funny because when I first got it started, I was like, I bought this stock and I want to keep this stock because it's mine. And so I might put it like $5 up because I wanted the stock to go up as well. But I didn't know what I was doing at that point in time. I didn't have any strategy. I was just like, how do the mechanics of this work? Nowadays, most of my covered calls that I will do, I mean, I call them fast money trades or fast trades. So I want to choose the strike price that is just above what I paid for the stock because I want the stock to get called away. And I want to take the most amount of premium, that's the payment you get for it, to come into my account right away. So I have more cash to do other things with it. Same reason I want the stock to be called away is I love that cash to come back into my account and give me more variables that I can do with the cash in the future. So
Awesome.
I'm just about like collecting those high premiums right away. And I normally do like 2 to 3 week calls.
Okay. And then and then once you get the cash, are you selling cash secured puts to get back in? Or
No,
no?
I don't do many puts actually.
Okay.
The reason why is because I am always buying stocks that are bullish overall. Okay. So their tendency is to go up over time, not down. I think that if you're doing cover calls on stocks that are going down, I'm wondering why you're doing it. I think your logic is a little bit flawed there. But yeah, the reason I'm doing that is because I want to collect a little bit of capital gains. So if I buy Amazon at 135 I'll sell it for 136, and if it gets called away, I get $50 in cap gains as well on that call, which is great. It just adds extra income. Another thing reason why I want to be in the stock and own it, not do puts as often, is because I like to buy stocks that pay a dividend. So that gives me the opportunity that if my call is over that X date, I'm going to collect a dividend too. If you got 200 shares of Nike and you cross the X dividend date, that's $75 extra you get on 200 shares. That's a pretty good deal. So
awesome. So you mentioned kind of slow moving stocks upward. What stocks would you say like do not sell covered calls on?
coin. Like, I know why people trade coin. I am just certain they will get burned at one point in time and have to dig themselves out of a hole. And why I know that is because I've done things like that. So that's why I know that. So coin is going to give you like an amazing premium to sell a covered call on it. It's going to be just percentage wise, it's going to be sky high. But the thing to keep in mind when premiums are sky high is the reason that those premiums are sky high is because the market makers are paying you to assume a lot of risk to hold that stock in general. So that is one of those things when I said like, oh, covered calls, they seemed too good to be true when I was starting. When the premiums are that high, it is too good to be true. Like if the market goes down, people are going to sell out of Coinbase so much faster than they sell out of like an Amazon or an Apple. And you're going to be left holding the bag if you're doing covered calls or puts potentially.
Awesome. So is your portfolio like strictly covered calls then, or are you doing any sort of other option strategies?
No, I do a lot of other option strategies. So if you say, I would say maybe something like, let's say 75% of my options are covered calls, 5% being puts. The rest is going to be leaps, bear call spreads, and calendar spreads. Leaps, bear call spreads, and calendar spreads are insanely profitable. The percentage gain you can get can be anywhere from like just 5% in a couple days going up to, I have had leaps and bear call spreads that I just have made like, beyond 200% profit on.
Wow.
So those are awesome strategies. And I think they're a little advanced because they have two legs to them, not a single leg. So I tend to coach on those once people have mastered covered calls.
Gotcha. Well, you're tossing some terms around. Were there any resources that you used when you were first starting out? Someone's, listening to this, they're thinking, yeah, this sounds very interesting. I could see getting into this. Where should I start?
I do think that you could poke around YouTube for a little bit. But I do think coaching is getting a coach or entering like some kind of program that teaches you how to do it, is the way to start, because it's really a lot to figure out who on YouTube you can trust, or if they gave you all the information, or when I was watching YouTube videos, I was like, but what about this? And I had nobody to ask. And I just wanted to ask questions, and I wanted to verify that my thinking was right when I thought I had it, So, like I entered a number of, different coaching things or different programs and stuff like that. And I kind of like took the best things and then made them all into a coaching program. When I say the best, I sort of took things that were like low risk and things that I could do in a minimal amount of time and patched them all together to make a system for myself. So the terminology is something that you learn, I think, like slowly over time. I think that learning, like getting out a stock trading vocabulary book, it's going to be also confusing if you try to learn all the terminology all at once. So like when I coach people, I start talking in plain English, and then I say, hey, that payment that you get, it's called a premium. And then the next conversation we can go and we can just talk about premiums because they know what it is. But that might be the first stock terminology I'm going to teach them. I'm going to teach them nothing else. Like premium and strike price would be the first thing that we'd learn.
Awesome. Well, okay. As we're winding down, I like to ask every guest, what is the best and worst personal finance advice you've either heard or received?
So the best personal finance I got was to do covered calls in my 401k. I have a 401k that's self-directed, so I can do covered calls in them. You can't do many other options trades in your 401k other than a covered call. But being able to do covered calls in my 401k has just like supercharged the amount that I have for retirement. And it's been so profitable that I don't even feel that I have to actually make additional deposits into my 401k, which has freed up like a lot of my cash to come back into my family and do things like invest in my kids' college education, things like that. Did you ask me worst?
Yes,
No.
yes, yes. Also worse.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
So the worst was I had a financial advisor. I'm no fan of his now. And he asked me to join his hedge fund. This was about 10 years ago, and I did. During that time, I think I was invested in the hedge fund for about 7 years. We went through the biggest bull market, like after 2008 until 2020. And he lost $2,000 of mine during that time, which seemed absolutely impossible to do and performed so much worse than like SPY would have. But from that, it was the worst advice, and I took it and I lost money. But that is actually something that happened around the same time as my friend saying, hey, get into covered calls. And it made me realize I needed to watch my money closely and figure something else out. And like, here I am now, and it's probably the best thing that could have happened to me was this guy losing me money.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of people talk about compound interest, but not many talk about compound fees. So, yeah. So, Erica, why don't you give the listeners a handoff? Where can they go learn about your coaching, get in touch with you if they have more questions?
Yeah, the best thing to do is follow me on Twitter at Women Options Win. See if you like what I have to say and what my outlook is on stock options trading. My premise is really keep it simple, easy, and fun. Trading with me or with my strategies only takes like a couple hours a week to get the kind of results that I get. You can set up an appointment on my calendar there on Twitter, or you can email me at erica@abundantlyerica.com.
Awesome. Well, I had a lot of fun talking to you, and I think the listeners got a lot of value out of this. So thanks.
Thanks, Jack.